Google Stadia is shutting down its licensed gaming studios, and NCAA coming back to EA with their next football game. And to top things off with all of that, we also have the announcement of Battlefield 6 that I am excited for. My co-host Damar Dukes and I, we're going to deep dive into all of this right here on Platform Gamer Podcast, which starts right now. Welcome back, everybody. This is your host, Desmond Dukes, and thank you so much for joining us here on the podcast. It is February 4th, 2021, and we are so glad that you guys are here to join us here today. Oh man, I was supposed to try and get us to do the podcast yesterday. That didn't happen because my shift ended way too late and I was way too tired. So that just wasn't happening. But nevertheless, we are bringing it to you guys here right now. Of course, our biggest story, our main story is the Google Stadia shutdown for all their first party licensing agreements and all of that jazz. So that's one thing we're definitely going to talk about. That's a huge thing. And of course, you know, we've got two stories from EA. So we're going to go ahead and deep dive into this. But before we do, Damar, do you have anything you'd like to add to this?
Yeah, we definitely have a little bit of extra nugget of information as far as revolving around the Sony PlayStation 5. But we'll definitely get into that at the absolute later part of the show.
All right. So make sure you guys, if you like everything that you see here on the podcast, make sure you subscribe, turn on that bell for all notifications, and smash that like button. Every time you smash that like button, it helps out the podcast. It gets it out. More people can check it out. Make sure you also follow us on Twitter and Instagram at Platform Gamer P1. That is the number 1, not spelled out. And you can also hit us up on Facebook.com, like us and follow us there as well, so that we update all of our news and information of little pieces here and there gets uploaded to Facebook. So with all of that, oh yeah, I almost forgot. For some reason, I always think to try not to forget this. If you want to listen to us on our audio form and you're just not able to watch us in video format, you can also check us out on Podbean and Spotify. So if you go into the search engine of both of those, just type in Platform Gamer Podcast and you should be able to find us on those platforms. So let's go ahead and get into our first story here, and that is the NCAA football by EA is coming back. College football is returning to EA after like an 8-year hiatus. Now,
8 years.
It's been a long time since we had a college football game. But nevertheless, EA is bringing it back. Now, this comes from several news sources throughout the gaming community, but I am actually pulling mine from USA Today. And it's pretty cool. I mean, right here it says, according to ESPN also, that they are stating that the return date or date to announce when the return will happen hasn't been determined yet. So we still don't have an actual date that the game is coming out or when it's coming out. We just know that it's coming. According to, let's see, Daryl Holt, he is the general manager of EA Sports, and it is also the vice president, states as quoted, as we look for the momentum that we're building on in sports, it all starts with the passion of our fans and the opportunities of what they are interested in. I don't think a visit where I go outside wearing a piece of EA Sports branding apparel that someone doesn't go, hey, when is college football coming back? So there's a lot of things going on with this. the whole reason why college football was taken off the table in the first place was because there was a lot of problems, especially with a lot of these college universities, and especially like legislation within those states and colleges that were having issues that, hey, if you're going to put the likeness of our universities and our colleges into your game along with our players and our players' names and their likenesses, those college players need to get paid. That's what they were fighting for to begin with. And no side could really come to an agreement on figuring that whole situation out, because the NFL does have that agreement in place to make sure that those players are paid because of their likenesses and things like that. So they automatically get a piece of the pie. But in college, it's a different type of situation. So with that being said, after the 2014 game, which came out in 2013, that was the last NCAA college game to come out for any console or just by EA in general. DeMar, what can you add on to this whole developing story with this game?
Yeah, it's definitely a change in hopefully the right direction. I mean, one of the things we also have to take into consideration is the fact of, with such a long hiatus, that college football games have even pretty much not even been on the map. I mean, no one has been making them. And on top of that, it's the simple fact of, okay, how many people are going to genuinely be interested in college football games now, given the fact that mostly everything's been just pro active as far as for that. So, and like you said, like you were mentioning earlier, that there's still a lot of information, a lot of research has to be brought to the table, has to be gathered. You have to get, like they say, they have to get the players' names, their likenesses. They have to collaborate with each of the universities and schools, getting their playbooks, getting the uniforms, just everything. There's so much information that definitely has to be gathered before this thing can even remotely come into fruition. I mean, it's great that they want to jump back on the bandwagon of college football. I think it's definitely too long overdue, but it's just going to be that fact of, okay, how positively received is this going to be? Will this still be a successful thing? Are they just going to hit the ground running, or is this something that's going to slowly build into it? What kind of features is the game going to have? We know EA is the king when it comes to making football games. The question is, are they going to use some of those particular nuances into the college football games, or are they going to go with a completely different play format, given the fact that these are college games and not pro?
Now that's where I agree with you on with a lot of that, because it's going to be one of those situations that, you know, EA has to really kind of figure out how they're going to do this thing going into it with the NCAA, because Chris Murphy, who is I believe he's the district attorney over in Connecticut, that had basically stated, hey, if you guys are going to use all these likenesses and stuff for this IP of all of these athletes, they need a piece of the pie too. They can't just not get paid. So, but there's this double-edged sword with that too, because according to a lot of college universities' rules, especially with their athletes, that they're not allowed to basically take any type of payouts through any type of services or things like that. It's just within their rule book. So this is kind of a slippery slope when it comes to that. I'm not fully sure how EA is going to pull this off, but nevertheless, they're going to do it. That's the game plan. So my whole probably issue, my main issue with that would be with that situation. Now, if it was to look at it in a positive light, if they do come to terms and they find some way to pay these players a little something, maybe even put that money towards their tuition to help pay for their colleges, you know, for at least for a lot of the ones too that didn't quite get a scholarship, but still got into the school with the program and everything, that would help benefit them as far as paying for their college tuitions and getting some of those paid down. So it'd be almost like working a job anyway, because they're going to use their likeness. They got to go to, EA's headquarters, or EA can come to them or have a special studio set up someplace, get their faces scanned, get their names on the jerseys, make sure all the jerseys are current, right? Make sure all the rosters are correct. I mean, there's a lot to go into that, but we've seen little glimpses of stuff like that in some of the latest Madden games, where you could actually grab certain players, or you can create certain players from a certain college and bring them into the NFL. So we've seen little bits and stuff like that, but we haven't seen a whole lot. But I don't know, man. This is great for anybody who's into college football, because now they'll actually be able to play those games and kind of get back into it. But I mean, for someone like me, it's just like, this sounds like it's going to be a whole heap of trouble, more than EA asked for. So it's really going to come down to what they're going to do as far as paying these players. So I'm not sure on that one.
Yeah, I agree with you on that as far as going forward with that. I mean, at the very least, we can take into consideration that typically when it tends to happen is the fact that a lot of these players, especially a lot of the star players, typically are going to start getting scouted off early. So we know that there are going to be pro scouts that are going to be keeping their eye on these guys. I'm thinking maybe there could be some kind of special contractual setup that could be made as far as that. The college players who are actually getting scouted by professional teams and such, maybe there's some kind of special kickback that they can give to them as far as for the incentive as they transition, if they actually go and complete the whole, the signing and everything else and get drafted. Maybe they can use that as a means of doing it, or maybe they can pay the players based on, maybe there's some kind of special draft system that'll be added to the game, whether it's in the college game or the pro game, that you can link to the college account of through EA's server or such.
Right.
I'm not exactly sure how they would fit all that in, but there could be some kind of special workaround through the game data and the actual information based on the players and the teams that they could potentially be actually getting scouted to go towards during the next upcoming draft.
And that's the thing too, with because these universities, because their university is being portrayed in these games, they automatically get that kickback. It's just the players that aren't getting anything. And I think that's the biggest disconnect right there, is that, they're getting ready to go pro. So, or, they may be their freshman year or whatever. But I think the issue that comes to mind too is, okay, even though they're creating a college game and they're going to, let's say, for example, they do use the players' likenesses and their names. Like how long is it going to be, as far as because college players change all the time. Versus NFL players, where it's a consistent thing. So college, they may have a quarterback, one season, and then the next 2 seasons, or a season or 2 or whatever, that player decides they're not playing no more. So now you got to bring in another player. Does that player that's no longer playing still get the incentive from the old game? That's kind of one of those things that's going to be kind of tricky. So I don't know. We'll see how this story continues to develop, but either way, EA Sports is coming back with a new sports game. But you guys let us know what you think about this. Is this a great idea for EA to come out with a college football game? And if so, tell us what your thoughts are, and how excited are you that EA even announced the fact that it's coming. So definitely something to look forward to for all of you pigskin nuts out there. All right, moving on to our next story. This one got me excited. Now, I am a huge Battlefield fan, and Battlefield 1 will forever be one of my all-time favorite Battlefield games ever. I love Battlefield 1. Then Battlefield 5 came out. A lot of mixed reviews. Some people said it got a little bit better, but it took a lot of heat and a lot of stuff that, a lot of criticism before the launch of the game, basically having to do with the first cinematic sequence that they came out with, the first teaser trailer that they came out with, and then other trailers on top of that. So it kind of changed everything around, and it screwed everything up for them. But yeah, I'm super excited that EA has finally announced that Battlefield 6 is coming. As far as when, we don't know. That is one of those things. They just made the announcement just a couple of days ago. There's going to be a lot of questions being asked about Battlefield 6. You know, preferably, what era is this going to take place in? Like what type of Battlefield are we to expect? But we do know that it is going to be for all of the current gen consoles. So, which is great. So we'll get to see it on the Xbox Series consoles and the PlayStation 5. Also, PC will get it as well, and including Steam. If you have Steam, it'll be on there as well. But nevertheless, this is exciting news. Damar, when you heard about Battlefield 6 coming, what did you think about that?
I thought this was great. I know this. I know a lot of people. I know when they heard it, I know they were definitely besides themselves when it came to that. I mean, Battlefield has come a long way since its 2002 debut release, when originally it was only for the PC and the Mac. It really didn't hit onto the consoles on the PlayStation 2 until around 2005. So, I mean, just seeing the progression of how far it's come along since then, and the fact that, I mean, the fact that if it's one thing that's always remained consistent when it came to the Battlefield games is the fact of they're always finding ways of really pushing the graphical potential of any machine that it gets placed on. And that's been one of the biggest things, that you really get to see the true power of not only your machine, but the creative aspect as far as the amount of work and careful detail that goes into these types of games. Battlefield has been very successful. I know in Battlefield 3 and 4, they kind of more revolved around modern day to futuristic style military combat. In the first and the fifth, they revolved around World War I and II. So this one, from what's been stated thus far, is probably going to be almost like an additional onset from Battlefield 3, kind of going more into the modern kind of thing.
That excites me, because I was really hoping that because I kind of felt it was time for them to come into the modern era again. I think we've seen enough of, the world wars from 1 and 2. They could make this almost like a World War III type scenario, with Battlefield. And one of the greatest things that I've always loved about Battlefield is that everything was destructible. I absolutely love that aspect about Battlefield, the fact that everything is destructible. And that's what I missed the most. And the maps were huge. I mean, huge, where you can have tons of freaking players on there. Now, one of the things that I'm actually excited for too is that there's a possibility that Battlefield could, in the multiplayer mode anyway, could really step it up from 3 and 4. Because in 3 and 4, the most you could have on a set team was probably like what? Maybe, I believe it was like 10 players, 12 players maybe per team, something like that. Can you imagine a team like 32 players, 2 teams, on a single map in multiplayer, like in team deathmatch? Absolutely would love that. Just destruction everywhere, chaos. We're getting a solid 60 frames per second, 4K. Everything's going to be absolutely amazing. So I am definitely looking forward to that, because, like I said, I've been a huge Battlefield fan for a long time, and now the single player campaigns, for the most part, have been okay. Battlefield 1, I think, probably had the best one. Battlefield 4, I just loved it for the multiplayer because it was fantastic. Battlefield 3 had a pretty decent story and their multiplayer, but Hardline was, Hardline really wasn't all that great. At least it wasn't from my perspective. And I'm hoping that, you know, they take cues of what made them successful with Battlefield 1 and then Battlefield 3 and 4. Take those aspects and then bring them to Battlefield 6. So there's a lot of what if questions going on here. We do know that they are going to be on all of the latest consoles. Now, I don't really have anything else more to say on this because I think it's an absolutely fantastic thing. And what do you guys
No worries,
think?
sir.
That's
No
right.
worries,
Right.
sir.
No
I
worries.
actually have some information for you, actually. I
Oh,
have a little bit
good.
of
What do you
extra.
got? What do you got?
Okay, so basically, one of the things that was mentioned was as far as the time period wise, which I already mentioned earlier, it's gonna be pretty much a playoff of Battlefield 3. Now,
Okay.
another thing too is that one of the directions they're going to go in is they're not going to go into the direction of the single player campaign. They're going to go into more of war stories. So you're going to be going different perspectives of different types of areas with different characters to move things along as far as for that. So that's the kind of scenario as far as the gameplay that they're going to be revolving around.
Okay.
Also, there was a tweet from a gentleman by the name of Tom Henderson, who basically states that the maps are designed to have 128 plus characters in mind at any given time. It's going to be 32 versus 32, which will be the standard gameplay. It was also stated on Reddit that as far as concerning Tom Henderson, I guess he was also known for leaking some of that seemed accurate information when it came to some of the other games that came out in the past, specifically like stuff like for Call of Duty games. He leaked a lot of information on that. Some of it was very pretty much accurate. So you can almost say that to an extent, I'm not going to say everything, but to an extent, it seems his information might actually be pretty credible as far as for that.
Okay.
Another thing too was that they were considering possibly adding a free-to-play battle royale in the game potentially, just to kind of play on the successful tactic that Call of Duty Warzone had. So that's another thing that they might decide to go into. And some other stuff too. They are going to be playing it. They're going to have a grand operations campaign that's also going to be happening. This grand operations is going to revolve around actually what you said earlier. It's going to be a World War III kind of scenario.
That's what I was hoping for.
Yep. In which case, this grand operations is going to take place over a period of 5 days. In which case, each day, it's going to be conducted on a different map. So it's going to be something that plays through, and basically the winning team on that day will get pretty much, they're going to have the home field advantage when it comes to the perks and everything else come the next day. So they're going to be the ones at the advantage. So this grand thing is going to be a huge, major, big deal when it comes to that. But that's that's some of the stuff I know. The CEO of EA, Andrew Wilson, he did state that Battlefield 6 is slated to potentially be launched in holiday 2021, and that we might actually see a potential unveiling of the game sometime in spring of this year.
Okay. Yeah, because I pretty much got about the same thing now that I'm just reading this. This is coming from IGN by Matt Kim, who did the report. And it says, according to him anyway, that EA has spoken at length that the new Battlefield game will be released in 2021 with a reveal planned for spring, which you were correct on those. It said today during a financial call, which is their financial conference call, the company reaffirmed this timeline and says that the next Battlefield game will take full advantage of the next gen platforms. So with us having that reveal in the spring, that's going to be super awesome, super great. And the fact that the game is coming out this year, that is super exciting. So EA is making some big moves there, man. I'm really excited for what they got planned in the future with this, and hopefully, crossing my fingers, they don't have an incident with Battlefield 5 where they were kind of putting their community kind of on the back burner by saying, if you don't like it, don't buy it. And that's pretty much what everybody did. They didn't buy it. So I'm sure they've learned from that mistakes. You know, they've gone through a couple of management changes. So the new guy that's running the program with EA and Dice are probably going to make sure. I'm sure they're going to make sure that the community and the potential customers come first in this situation. But anyway, anything else you want to add to that?
I think that was pretty much the gist. I just want to make sure that I give credit where credit's due. The information that I gave was reported by Max Freeman Mills of PocketLint.com. So I just want to make sure that I drop his information in there so nobody thinks that I just did all that myself.
PocketLint does bring up some credible information, so that's pretty darn good. But anyway, what do you guys think of this announcement? Are you excited for Battlefield 6? Let us know in the comments section below and tell us your thoughts. I kind of feel like I've been all over the place, man, because like I don't know, I just feel like I haven't really. I'm still trying to wake up too. So if I sound like I'm rambling about stupid stuff that you're just like, huh, what is he talking about? Don't worry. It's just me being a little tired. I had to take a nice long nap. But anyway, yeah, I'm excited for Battlefield 6. That's going to be like super fun, super great. And yeah, I can't wait for it. Just can't wait for it. I can't wait to see the reveal and what they're bringing to the table. And now it is time for our main story, ladies and gentlemen. Oh, poor Stadia. So, I figured this from the beginning a couple of years ago.
I think many people did.
When Stadia was starting to come out, and I was like, I don't know. I don't know about this cloud. Like, something that was kind of the equivalent of Netflix. And I'm like, okay, that could be kind of cool. But I never really bought into it. Like something told me, reserve yourself from that. I don't know. And then when they revealed what their plans were as far as like the pricing system and everything else, I was like, yeah, I'm good. I'm not even going to bother with Stadia. Like every time a Stadia commercial comes up, I just go past it because I don't care anymore. Same well, this just reaffirmed my fact that I didn't care about what Stadia was doing. Now, I'm not saying Stadia was a bad thing, but like the whole business model of it was just really bad. So, but we've just gotten information that Google Stadia is shutting down in their internal gaming studio. Now, this also comes from multiple sources. I pulled mine from IGN. This is coming from writer Joseph Knopp. And he says that the tech giant's video game streaming platform, which launched in 2019, is shutting down its initial game development studios and refocusing on offering its tech platform to third-party publishers. The company announced this on Monday. As first reported, Google will close its 2 Stadia game and entertainment studios located in Los Angeles and Montreal. The closure will impact approximately 150 employees. One source told Kotuka?
Oh, Kotaku.
Kotaku, thank you. That Google says it will try to find new roles at the company for these impacted. Now, this is a huge thing. I mean, first of all, you have 150 people that have now out of work, but thankfully, Google is going to find new roles for those people, so they're at least going to be able to continue to be financially stable within their lives. So that's a good thing. Yeah. Number 2, because of that whole business model, they didn't do very well management-wise controlling this thing. I mean, there's so many things they could have took cues from like what Xbox was trying to do, you know, what some of these other ones have been trying to do, and they didn't do that. They didn't even really speak to the community. In fact, they didn't even do any type of like gaming showcase until Gamescom. So the one year that they actually had an E3, they didn't even show it at. They just showed it at Gamescom, which was really, really odd. So I don't know, man. I mean, this is a very serious situation with Google Stadia. Now, the good thing is that they, you know, all of their technology, they will send it to third parties. I could totally see different companies picking this up, you know, and incorporating that into their gaming system as far as like being able to play games through their online means, kind of like Netflix. If somebody invests the right amount of money into it and come up with a better business model. But yeah, one of my favorite podcasts that I like to listen to is Gamer Tag Radio with Danny and Paris and Pete. I love listening to those guys. I think they are a fantastic group of guys. If you haven't checked them out, please check them out. They are a great, great listen. I listen to them all the time on Spotify if I'm going to work or I'm at work or at home, just doing whatever. But Paris Lilly said it best. It's not the employees' fault. They were just doing their jobs. This all came down to leadership. And I absolutely 100% agree with him. Leadership did not do a very good job making sure that Stadia was able to compete with people like Xbox, with what they're doing with xCloud and the Xbox Game Pass, and then PlayStation, which we've already heard stuff about them revamping the PlayStation Now to better equip for people doing gaming on there. So they haven't been able to compete very well, and they haven't really spoken with the community. Damar, what is your thoughts on this?
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And yeah, Paris definitely stated a lot. I mean, he even seen it coming when they attended one of the gaming conventions. The fact that, you know, I believe they were playing Doom Eternal, I believe, and everything ran great. It flawless. But when it comes down to the overall concept, it's just that, I mean, he said it's a great concept, but at the same time, it's not something that should be heavily, I guess you could say, leaned upon when it comes to that. It's not something standalone. It doesn't have the right structure to be able to, you know, 5G, it's still slowly coming out. You know, we're still new to the 5G technology. So there's still a lot of utilization there. So that's still an untapped market. But when it comes to the fact that it pretty much almost put on the brakes before it could even step on the gas.
Right.
It was definitely a good concept going into it, but the overall execution was just very poorly done. The high execs in Google, I mean, you'd think you would expect something better when it comes to that. I mean, Luna is definitely doing a lot better with their channel-based system, with their $5.99 subscription and everything. But yes, Google Stadia, I mean, it was just something that just didn't feel right when I started seeing the reveal and everything else. I was just like, nah. I mean, and the other biggest thing that even Paris and Danny had brought up is the fact that with all these games, you're spending $60 a pop on these games. Now they're going to pretty much start servicing. I mean, it's been stated that any games coming out for 2021 may or may not even get released. Technically, they might service them at least to the end of the term. But for the most part, what's going to happen? I mean, are they going to refund the people the money that they spent on these games? I mean, you can't really port them. It's not cross-platform.
Right.
So
yeah, and that really sucks because, you know, that would be like with me. I have Vudu for all of my movies and TV shows. If Vudu were to shut down, like right now, and I have no other way to watch the 500 movies that I have saved on my Vudu account, that's not helping me. That's not helping me at all. And even if they did release whatever few games they had planned to come out for it, who's to say that people are going to spend $60 on a game that eventually they're not even going to be able to play anymore? So
exactly.
So it's like,
and not to mention on top of that, a lot of the premier games, even if they were to come out, they're not going to have a community.
No.
You're going to be playing a dead game. You're going to be playing by yourself in a multiplayer
game. You and like one other person on this huge map. So now the tech about it is very promising. I mean, it's got rave reviews as far as what it can do technologically wise. It's gotten fantastic reviews, but that's also the issue, is that that's all they've really got going for them, is that the tech is great. But see, now, other companies are looking at this and going, yeah, we're not going to do it the way they just did it. But apparently, from what I'm understanding it, Google does that anyway. Like, if something doesn't work after a little while, they like completely throw it away, which is very, very common for Google, because I've actually seen them with some apps that they've come out with, and I'm like, oh, this is a cool app. And then it doesn't work out because it's either like having issues, or it's buggy or whatever. And I mean, granted, I've had a couple of them that were kind of buggy and everything, but after a while, it's just like, if you can't fix the problem, then just don't bring it out. So they just get rid of it. I don't know, man. This is one of those situations that Google really, really screwed the pooch, at least on a leadership standpoint. They really screwed the pooch on this one. So they've got to do better. They've got to look at other business now. Now maybe they'll come up with something later that could potentially take its spot. But I don't really see it. I think Google is pretty much kind of just done with that. But I don't know, man. I don't like the fact that, you bring people in, you hire these people in to do the job, then they do the job, and then this whole thing still fails, and then you blame them for it. It's like, but it was on you. So I don't know, man. Like, there was definitely potential. There was definitely potential there with Google Stadia. I think they had a lot really going for them, but it was what was happening behind the scenes that screwed them over. And it just happened to come out into the forefront, and people were like, yeah, we can't get on board with this. So the few people that did like Stadia that got on there, enjoy it while you can, because I don't know how long it's going to last. Now, maybe they'll keep it up, kind of in low use, just for the people that still have games and stuff on there. They may do something like that. A third-party publisher, like I just read in the report, will probably pick it up and let people continue to play, because they don't want these people to go out and rebuy those games again. So they may honor the deal and use the tech, and then the people will start a new account with that third-party developer, and then still be able to play their games without feeling like they've lost a bunch of money. Because if you bought a bunch of games at like $60 a pop, $40 a pop, just trying to enjoy yourself and enjoy these games, and to be able to not be able to play them, you probably put a good few $100s, if not more, into this. That's all going to be washed down the drain. I think that's a really, really, really sad situation.
Yeah, I totally agree. I definitely hope that whatever third party decides to pick up on that and invest into this particular technology, I definitely hope that they are able to come up with some kind of means of being able to migrate and transfer those games and the players' accounts onto their platform. And hopefully their platform will also be cross-platform as well. That's going to be pretty much the biggest thing going forward. Is going to be cross-platform. The boundaries are finally getting eliminated. And like you said, what you had mentioned earlier, the fact that they brought together all these different people from these teams to try to make this particular thing work. It was supposed to be a project that was supposed to flourish. It was supposed to take gaming to a whole nother level as far as when it comes to streaming service. I mean, they even had Jade Raymond, who was a veteran producer who made the Assassin's Creed games for Ubisoft. He was part of that project. He was part of the creation team, but now he left. So I'm not sure.
You mean her?
Oh, her. Yeah.
That's all right.
Thank you.
Sorry, I had to correct you real quick.
No, thank you for doing that. But yeah, it's like, what is she going to do afterwards? As far as that, is she going to go back to Ubisoft? Is she going to probably jump on board with another company altogether? I'm not even sure what her plans are going to be as far as for that.
Right.
But it's like you've had so many talented people that were part of this project, but now, even though they are going to move on to other things, it's like, I mean, is Google going to go in the direction of simply just producing the games and maybe porting them on and having some kind of special collaboration with, let's say, Sony or with Microsoft? Are they going to maybe come up with some kind of exclusive contract to where maybe they'll only produce games for a certain particular developer? Who knows? But I mean, everything's up in the air now. I mean, the whole project is completely blew up in their faces. I mean, to a certain extent, I almost kind of feel as if the execs should have seen this kind of thing coming. I mean, the fact that there really aren't any really major streaming sites that's super doing well, except for the stuff that's going on with Microsoft. But
Uh,
of course, also with the pandemic happening, I think
yeah.
that also kind of played a huge role as far as in that too.
Oh yeah, I'm sure it did. And you would think with the pandemic, more people would want to jump on Stadia, because they're at home, they can play it on pretty much any device that's capable of handling that. You would think more people want to jump on it, but instead they jumped right to the other platforms. So altogether, Stadia was looking at a huge loss, even from a stock market standpoint. Stadia was taking a huge hit, a huge hit. It just wasn't going to help them. Yeah. And the fact that coming from leadership that they're not doing they didn't do any exclusive games, like none. Within the almost 2 years they were out, they did no exclusive games. They should have had those ready to go at launch. As a matter of fact, they launched it with missing features, like lots of missing features. So that kind of reminds us of the whole Cyberpunk situation. If you weren't ready to bring it out, don't bring it out, period. So I don't know, man. It's really dumb. It really is. It was a dumb situation that should have never happened, but yet it did. And, Stadia is having to pay the price for it, and so are those 150 employees. Now, if I was those employees, yes, I would continue to work for Google, but at the same time, shoot, I didn't got the bug. Now I want to start my own company. Jay could probably start her own company. You know what I'm saying? Just outside of Google. Maybe Google will help fund a new company specifically for them to continue to make games for it. I don't know. I mean, there's a possibility, but who knows with nowadays. But nevertheless, Stadia is done. It is over with. You probably won't see at least that name pop up again. So I don't know exactly when the full shutdown is supposed to happen. We just know that it is happening. So it could be a week from now, could be tomorrow, could be 3 months from now. Who knows? So, but you guys let us know what you think about this entire situation with Google Stadia. Are you sad that they're going away? Are you happy that they're going away? Did you, like the rest of us, seen this kind of situation happening from afar because of the whole business model? You guys tell us what you think down below in the comments section. We would love to hear your thoughts. Damar, you said you had something else added on dealing with PlayStation. What you got?
Yes. So basically, as far as for you PS5 users, it looks as if Sony is going to be releasing a fixed patch in March for the 4K 120 hertz HDR issue. It seems that due to the fact that this issue was actually came across on the Samsung community site. And a lot of Samsung TV owners were complaining the fact that on their Samsung TVs, when they would try to turn on and enable the 4K 120 HDR, it didn't work. You could do the 4K, but you had to choose either the 120 hertz or the HDR. The only thing you can do all of those in sequence, you can do the 4K 60 hertz HDR. You can do that. That's still an available thing. But it seems this has been a going issue since the launch of the PlayStation 5. But now, because of the fact that the Samsung did an internal investigation, they looked into their systems. They said their TVs do not require updates. Everything is going to be based around the hardware of Sony's PlayStation 5. And so with that, it looks like they may have somehow reached out to Sony. Sony's been working towards getting a new fixed patch for this. So come March, there is going to be a patch to finally fix this, so you can do the full 4K 120 hertz updated patch for your PlayStation 5, so you can run the games on a much higher resolution with even smoother gameplay.
That's good, because I have like an HDR TV. I don't know if it does 120 hertz. I want to say it does. If not, it does 60. But I mean, it still plays relatively smooth on mine. But I have an LG TV. But that's good to know because that's actually one of the few things that I haven't noticed that has happened. And I wonder if it's only just the Samsung TVs that's having that issue. Now, is it? I wonder because I know a lot of consoles or a lot of TVs now have basically like built-in consoles in a sense where you could play like let's say you download the app for like the PlayStation app or like PlayStation Now or whatever. I know a lot of the Sony TVs, the newer ones anyway, that you will be able to. You'll have the app. You can upload. You can play your games. You just use a USB port and plug in your controller, or set it up through like whatever Bluetooth device, and you can play your games right off of the TV. But I don't know if it was actually optimized for the PlayStation 5's games to be on there, just mainly PlayStation 4 games. So I'm not sure on that. But this patch will definitely help for anybody that has a Samsung TV or any other TV. I mean, you may have like a Winehouse or a Philips or an LG or anything like that. So if you are experiencing those issues with your PlayStation 5, rest assured that patch is coming out. What'd you say, in March?
Yep.
So that patch is coming out in March. So that way your games can start to run cleaner and smoother, and you'll get that solid rate at 4K that you have all been looking for. So that is actually good to know because I didn't even know that was even being an issue right now. So so that's very, very interesting.
Yeah, I think also it's also going to come down to the specs that the television happens to be set at too, because as a lot of people may or may not realize that usually when you're buying a TV outright from the store, it's going to be set to economic settings. It's not going to be set for overall high res performance like you would see on the displays that are normally already out. All of those TVs are set to a specific type of resolution. So sometimes that's also going to help too. So if you happen to see that the brightness doesn't seem right, the color saturation doesn't seem right, it's just because your television is not set to the specs that you may have seen inside of a store. So sometimes you might have to go into those settings too, just to get that extra vibrance of that color that really makes the frames and everything pop.
And then make sure you check a lot of times it's on the lower, I want to say the lower left-hand corner. Sometimes it's at the top, but it'll usually say what the features are as far as like this TV does, like 60 hertz. It's a smart TV. It does, or whatever the hertz is, 60, it could be 120. It can handle 4K, HDR, all of those things. Excuse me, a lot of times are on that corner. So if you decide that you want to get an HDR TV, HDR smart TV, you want to make sure you look for those, especially if you want to maximize on those full 120 hertz, which gives you that full 4K 60 frame per second running of your PlayStation 5 on those TVs. Then you'll definitely want to make sure you get one of those, so that way everything that you play will be played at that high of a resolution without any, without suffering any lag or slowdown or anything like that. So this patch will definitely be beneficial if you own a PlayStation 5. Kudos to you, because now you're getting a patch for this update. So that is very, very good to know. Well, I don't have anything else other than, probably, I guess we could do a quick review of Resident Evil 8. I mean, we could talk. We're like well past overdue.
Sounds good to me. Let's dive in.
Hey, hold on. This is last minute. This is last minute, folks.
Bonus footage.
That's right. That's right. Bonus footage. All right, so here we go. Let me go ahead and pop this bad boy up. All right, Resident Evil 8 Village. Now, I had a chance to play the demo. Damaris had a chance to play the demo. First of all, I love it. I think Resident Evil 8 is absolutely a fantastic game. It started off kind of slow, like, it's not really that creepy or nothing like that. Graphically, it looks great. It looks really, really good. And I think by this just being an early version, it's only going to get better.
Absolutely,
So
I agree.
I'm looking forward to that. But I really like the contrast. Like I said, it started off a little slow for me, like, oh, this isn't too bad. But as I progressed on, it started getting like even more scary for me. So like I literally found my heart kind of pounding a little bit. Got a little sweat coming down my brow. And, oh man. And then they're like the jump scares were pretty good too. They were pretty good because I wasn't expecting it. It's like some of the stuff that happened in this game were just crazy. DeMar, what did you think of Resident Evil 8 Village mansion demo?
Yeah, the Maiden, it was really good. One of the things that I really liked was the fact that with the way the ambience of the environment. I mean, you start off waking up in a cellar and you have to find your way out and stuff like that. I'm not going to go too much into it in case some of you guys may not have played, but I'm not, that's probably about the most detail I'm probably going to go in as far as for that. But one of the things that I really liked is the fact of I was starting to feel more, not just that old school Resident Evil vibe, but I was also feeling, for those of you who have ever played Amnesia, I was getting a little bit of that kind of vibe too. It 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 really played strategically on the atmosphere. I mean, the fact of the look of the rooms, and as you're making your way through the hallways and stuff, you can hear your footsteps are so freaking loud, and you're like, oh my god, who's gonna hear me? Who's gonna walk in my direction? It really makes you paranoid. I mean, the whole time I was walking that mansion, I was just thinking to myself, can't you tiptoe?
And what gets me is that I had my headphones on because I want to capture that full experience. Oh man, it really utilizes the headphones very well, because there were sounds that were coming from like behind me that had me actually like looking back, like who that? Who's there? Man, like I'm thinking, like I'm taking the headphones off, like I'm hearing people like talking. It's like, oh my god. So well, let's just say, for the record, this 9-foot tall lady, can we say how attractive she is? I'm just saying. I know she's like the bad guy, and she's she's hot. She is smoking hot to me. I don't know why, but man, I seen her. I was like, oh my gosh, she's fine. That's crazy. I don't know who they got the actress to play that role, but they probably threw her like on some stilts or something. But she was just thick from top to bottom. But nevertheless, the scare factor in this game is absolutely amazing. I can't wait to play the full version when it comes out. And for those of you that have not had a chance to check it out, it pretty much plays off of what was from Resident Evil 7. So you're still getting that first-person view type gameplay, but it still has all of the features that what made Resident Evil. All the doors you got to open, all the puzzles you have to solve, like everything. They just tapped into it. Like they say, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. And Resident Evil 8 really capitalized on what made 7 so successful and is moving into Resident Evil 8. Now, when Resident Evil 8 comes out, would I expect the same thing for Resident Evil 9? I don't know. I kind of would like to say no. I think at that time, I think it may be time to take it in a different direction. I wouldn't be opposed to it being like 7 and 8, but nevertheless, Resident Evil 8 this was just a demo. So if you have not played it yet, it is on the PlayStation Store. You can also probably find it also on the Xbox Series consoles on their stores, and then you could probably even find it on Steam or any other platform. But nevertheless, here's my question.
I believe that particular demo is a PS5 exclusive only.
Oh, that's even more interesting. Okay, so Xbox users will just have to wait a little bit.
See, you should have got a PS5. No. I know some of you guys out there are still having a hard time getting your hands on the PlayStation 5. I know well, I'll go into that later. Go ahead, Des.
Okay, but nevertheless, if you're excited for this game, which like I am, this is going to be a huge game. Again, I'm not sure exactly if it plays off of what happened in Resident Evil 7. If you're the same character from 7, I'm not sure. But nevertheless, I mean, I can't wait to explore this game in all its detail. I'm going to play this thing like crazy when I get the chance. And another thing that I want to throw out there, Resident Evil 7 was also on PlayStation VR. Could we expect Resident Evil 8 on PlayStation VR 2 when that comes out within like another year or so? I mean, it will be extremely late, but maybe we'll get a downgraded version for the current VR as kind of an add-on. That I don't know. I would love to play this in VR. So I don't know. You guys let me know what you think about that, if you think Resident Evil 8 should be in VR. But DeMar, go ahead.
Oh, yeah. I was just mentioning earlier as far as for the people still trying to get their hands on PlayStation 5. I know that after they did their annual sales review with their execs and their the marketing team and such, it appears Sony had sold about 4.5 million PS5 units by the end of 2020. So just taking that into consideration, it seems they're definitely going to be changing their marketing campaign as far as getting more PS5s out. I know definitely spring is going to be the time where they're really going to hit the ground running. There's definitely going to be more units in production as far as for that. I believe there's also going to be special bundles that are going to be put together. I know a lot of retailers have already been putting different kinds of bundles together, whether it comes with games. Some bundles come with a gaming chair. So there's definitely going to be a little bit of nuances as far as for that. But I just wanted to put that out there just as a extra information, just for the sake of it.
Yeah. So, but what do you guys think of Resident Evil 8? Have you played the demo, and have you enjoyed playing the demo? And are you looking forward to Resident Evil 8? I can't wait for this game to come out. Like I said, DeMar, I know you can't wait for it to come out either. This is going to be a great game. But anyway, that's all we have here for you guys. Thank you so much. We got in a good hour, so I'm okay with that. But thank you guys so much for joining us. Again, make sure that you like what you heard here today, or any of our past episodes. Make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel here at Platform Gamer Podcast. Turn on that bell for all notifications so you're notified of all of our Platform Gamer Podcast episodes, and make sure you smash that like button, because that like button helps us out tremendously. And then also make sure you follow us and like us on Twitter and Instagram at Platform Gamer P1. You can also find us on Facebook.com/Platform Gamer Podcast, where we update all of our latest small time information, including some of our big stories we'll throw on there as well. But a lot of our information and updates is usually on our Facebook page. So make sure you like and follow us there as well. And if you want to listen to us in our audio format, you can hit us up on Podbean and Spotify, on both of those platforms for the audio, whether you're at the gym or doing anything like that. So if you just don't feel like listening, or don't feel like seeing us, I should say, then you can get us in audio form. So that is all I had. DeMar, anything else you want to add on to anything?
Nope, nothing else added to that. I am good, brother.
All right. With that being said, thank you guys for joining us. We really appreciate it. Don't forget to leave us some comments down below of what you think of today's topics. And, we try our best to try and get to them and respond to those comments as they come flowing in. But you guys take care. Have a wonderfully good day. We'll see you all next time.